Hey, welcome to Mama Mandala. I'm Hagar. I'm excited to have this moment with you. We are moving seasonally toward the end of the year, but if you are catching this at a different time, this still may be relevant in many other ways. So you don't have to skip this if you are somewhere else and sometime else. But if you are watching this while around the time I'm releasing this, we're moving toward the end of our cycle around the sun. And in the northern hemisphere right now, the light is being diminished and the sun's strength is lowering. And we are moving toward the darkness. And symbolically, mythologically, the darkness is associated, not surprisingly, with the unknown, with the uncertain. We are invited into the arms, into the embrace, into the playful possibilities that are not shying away from the fear that may be associated with the darkness. Now, when we're moving in our lives through dark times, we may not think about it as playful and we may have a harder time to see the possibilities. But what this practice is an invitation into is into the questioning and the space that opens up in the dark, in the uncertain, in the instability of life. Because let's face it, life, we don't know what's going to happen. We can prepare, we do the best that we can to create some sort of a stable relationship with our lives, with the people around us. We do our best to get things as grounded as we can get them, but that's because life is stormy. That's because life is a wild ride and we never know what is actually going to happen. The majority of the yoga tradition, like the majority of spiritual traditions, the majority of religions, want to give us an answer. They want to stabilize us so much that even the mystery has a solution, that there is an answer to the questions. And what I'd like for us to do, and this is a much wider, broader, bigger concept that we can explore further. There is so much here that we can dance with than what we have time for, right? Than what a little short YouTube video can do for us. But let's allow this time of year, let's invite ourselves in this time when we look at the world around us and authoritarianism is on the rise, fascism is on the rise. So let's look at this, at the way that the uncertainty that may create in us is colored with too much certainty, right? Because fascism and authoritarianism is an over-imposing certainty. There is too much power at the top that controls with the promise of some sort of stability. But really, it takes us on a very dangerous ride. So we are at this threshold where we can invite the opportunities and possibilities and the kind of wisdom that can arise through questioning. There's actually, if we go far, far, far back in the yoga tradition, the place where the word yoga shows up first is in the Vedas, which is a text. It wasn't written, it was actually compiled. It's an oral tradition, so it's compiled orally. But it's a text, it's hymns. The Rig Veda are hymns to the forces of nature thought of and seen as divinities. And there is one hymn called Ka. Ka in Sanskrit means who. And the hymn goes on and on asking who. And the answer is the question. Who is the one who is behind all the mysteries? Who, right? Who, what is this great mystery that is life? We don't have to answer, we just have to keep asking, what, who? And so in the origins of yoga, we in some ways are invited into the questioning rather than taking the tradition and moving in that trajectory of an answer, taking back the power in the questioning, in the challenging of authority, in the exploration of what and who might you become as the world unfolds the way that it does. What is this world? What are we here for? Like so many times, and we're gonna move into movement in a second, but so many times we hear, oh, what's your purpose? Find your purpose. Well, is that what we need to do? Can I keep asking what? What is my purpose? My purpose? What? Right? What is? What? Maybe the purpose, maybe the point is not in answering, but in continuing to question. Because as we continue to ask, more questions will arise. And as we have answers, more questions will come through that. And the questions is how we continue to grow. And that's not an easy thing to do. Come into all fours, hands and knees. That's not easy at all. Spread your fingers wide and root your hands into the floor. That's a path that is challenging. Inhale, look forward, reach your hips back and your chest forward. And with an exhalation, look in towards your navel and round your back. Inhale and look forward, reach your chest forward. If you are not feeling good putting a lot of weight on your hands, exhale, round your back. Move your knees a little further back so that your knees are a little bit, inhale, look forward, reach your chest forward. Your knees are a little bit behind your hips. That will take the weight off of the wrists. Exhale and look in and round your back. One more, inhale, look forward, reach your chest forward. Press your hands deeply into the floor. And exhale, look in towards your navel and round your back. Take your weight to your heels and stay with your toes curled under. So that's a lot for some of our feet. If that's too much for you, you can point your feet, but then play a little bit back and forth with both so that you are giving yourself some time to lean into your heels and dig into the balls of your feet. Inhale and reach your arms up. And exhale, lower your hands to your heart. And if you haven't already, tone the back of your throat. Inhale, reach your arms up in front of you for this one. And exhale, join your hands through the front of your face to the front of your heart. And one more. Inhale, bring a tone to the back of the throat. You are conversing with your breath. You're not controlling it. Exhale, the hands to the heart. And then release your hands and bring them down to the floor. Inhale, take your left arm to the left, reach it out to the side, and with an exhalation, thread your left arm underneath your right and bring your left shoulder to the floor, the left side of your head to the floor. Come up on the fingertips of your right hand and lift your right elbow to the sky. So you're twisting, and we're allowing the twist to teach us about the questioning, because wherever we find the answers, we look straight. As soon as the road twists and turns, and there's always a bend in the road, breathe slowly. More questions will arise. The answers are not going to be complete or fulfilled. And so often the yoga tradition teaches us that there is some kind of a final solution. And I'm using that combination of words purposely, final solution. You can think about that for a second, what that means. Inhale and untwist. Exhale, move the hips a little side to side, right? There is something authoritarianistic, right? Authoritative about that. Inhale the right arm to the right, and with an exhalation, thread your right arm underneath and come to the side of your head. Come upon the fingertips of your left hand as you twist and breathe. And as you breathe, strengthen the abdominal region as you draw the front of the left hip toward the front of the right hip and the left side of the ribs towards the right, so that the core is engaged. as you press the fingertips of your left hand into the floor, left elbow rises and the chest opens up to the sky. But as the chest opens up to the sky, there's still that engagement, that connection, that boundary. Because questioning doesn't mean we're going to have no stability. I'm not speaking against us stabilizing and grounding. It's just that wherever we find the center, there is going to be a deeper opening and the center is going to keep on moving. Untwist with an inhalation. Place your hands down. And as you exhale, move your hips a little bit side to side. Now, press your hands down into the floor. And if this is not good for you to have your hands and your weight on your hands like that so much, you can also always do that with your hands on a wall or even on a couch, okay, or on a chair. We're going to inhale and lift the right leg up. And with an exhalation, take your right leg out to the right. Still off the floor. Inhale the right leg back, straight back behind you. And exhale, take it out to the right. Do you feel how your abdominal region needs to engage in order to hold that? Inhale the right leg back. Spread your toes so the right leg is strong. And exhale, take your right leg out to the right. And then inhale the right leg back. Turn the front of the right hip bone towards the left. And exhale, lower your right knee down. Press the hands deeply into the floor. If your hands are on the floor, inhale, lift your left leg back behind you, leg is straight, flex the foot, and exhale, take your left leg to the left. Notice what muscles need to come into work when you're doing that. Inhale, reach your left leg back. And exhale your leg out to the side. Press your hands down to create a little bit of a lift in your abdominal region. Inhale your left leg back. And exhale your left leg out to the side. Let's do that one more time. And notice what's happening in your body. Rather than me telling you what's happening, notice what needs your engagement. Notice what needs to happen. Inhale the leg back. Notice what's happening to your mind. Exhale your left knee down and sit back on your heels again if you can. And if not, you can again play around a little bit with being on the toes and on the balls of the feet. Interlace your fingers behind your back and with a deep inhalation, reach your arms back behind you. And if interlacing your fingers like this is too much on your shoulders and you feel really like your shoulders fold forward and you're hunching a little bit, hold on to a strap or even a shirt or something that you can put between your hands and have a little more distance between your hands so that as you stretch your arms back, the front of your shoulders, your chest opens up. Take a slow breath in. And a slow breath out through the tone in the back of the throat. So there's engagement, but there's no control. You're not controlling your breath, you're engaging in it. Then release your hands and bring your hands down to the ground again. Now, reach your right leg behind you for a moment and then bring your right knee. I said right, I meant left. So left leg back, bring your left knee behind you and take your feet wider, a little bit wider apart from one another. Move your hips a little bit side to side. Now, for this one, you may need to sit up on a block or on a blanket. If you can sit all the way back down to the floor after you've moved your hips a little side to side, great. Maybe what you have to do is, again, use a chair or a couch so that you're sitting on something. It's still opening for your hips if your hips are very tight, but if your feet are on the floor and you're sitting upright like this, then you're getting a lot for your hips. Breathe slowly so your left knee is behind your right knee and you're seated. If you're seated, flex your feet, spread your toes so the outer edges of your feet root into the floor. Toes are active so that your knees are not taking the toll. Sometimes when the toes relax a lot and the hips are in this position of opening, the knees can start to feel a little bit more tweaky. So spread your toes and root down through the outer edges of your feet into the earth. And notice how that I felt that immediately. It helps to lift the spine a little bit more. Bring your right hand on the inside, your right wrist, your right forearm even on the inside of your right knee and bring your left hand behind you and push the knee and the whatever part of your arm is on the inside of the knee into each other and twist your chest to the left. Breathe. But as you twist your chest to the left, resist a little bit with your belly, with your hips, and turn the left front of the left hip bone toward the right, the side of the ribs on the left side toward the right as you turn your chest to the left and breathe. Spine long, breath deep and full. Twisting and turning and looking at things from another angle. Look, we're all going to catch ourselves being a little too certain and a little too sure about things sometimes. And we need that. We need that in order to function. Inhale, untwist. Place your right fingertips behind you and bring your left hand or forearm or wrist on the outside of your right knee. Turn your chest to the right. Draw the right shoulder back into the socket, but turn the right ribs toward the left side of the ribs and the right front of the right hip and the right ASIS toward the left as you turn your chest to the right. Slow breath. So as we find the places of certainty, and there are going to be places, situations, moments, certain leaders, we're going to need to resist. We're going to need to resist authoritarianism. There's going to be lines that we're going to have to draw. Not everything is and should be acceptable, right? Some places, the questioning, sure, it's necessary for the growth, but we can put the questioning aside and march forward. So there's going to be even questioning around the questioning. Inhale, untwist. Because there's going to be moments where a certain amount of confidence and stability are needed. Now, roll yourself forward to bring yourself to all fours, hands and knees, and move your hips a little side to side. Can you feel it in your hips? It's pretty big, right? Breathe, and then reach your right leg behind you and bring your right knee behind your left, and then take your feet wide apart and move your hips side to side. Moving side to side as a way of accessing less determinism, less absolutism, moving and allowing more openness, more fluidity, more of the ability to adapt, and through that gain more resilience, right? Bring your hips down. And sure, we're going to catch the places where, oh wow, I've been a little too sure of myself. Let me check. Let me check with myself. Let me breathe through it. And those are the places where there's an opportunity for growth. Now, you might be seated on a couch, right, on a chair, so then your feet are anchored into the floor. But if you're seated on the ground, the outer edges of the feet, let's root them down very powerfully and spread your toes. And even push the inner edges of your feet, the big toe mound of your feet, out to the sides. And as you push them out to the side, maybe there's a little bit of a lift in the spine. And that lift in the spine isn't a straight line. Think of the spine and how much curvature there is in the spine. There is a waviness to your backbone. The thing that holds you up isn't holding you up with certainty. It holds you up with waviness and a touch of fluidity. Bring your right fingertips behind you. Breathe. And then your hand or your wrist or your forearm on your left side, on the inside of your left leg as you turn your chest to the right. And I can feel it. I turn my chest to the right, my whole body wants to move to the right. But let's resist it a little bit and turn the right front of the right hip bone toward the left, the right ribs toward the left, and twist in the middle and upper part of your spine. So that's another, it's a piece of information that can be helpful, that the lowest part of your spine, your cervical spine, it doesn't like to twist too much. It can do a lot of other things, right? It can move, the curvature can move in convex and concave directions. It can round and it can curve, but it doesn't like to twist much. So to resist the twist, engage the lower belly, but twist in the upper part, in the middle and upper part of your spine. And then untwist with an inhalation. And bring your left fingertips behind you. And bring your right hand to the outside of your right knee or your right wrist or your right forearm as you twist the upper part of your spine, the middle and upper part, to the left. So the left front of the hip bone moves towards the right. The left side of the ribs move towards the right as your chest turns to the left. And breathe. Outer edges of the feet still rooting you down. And you bring breath to this seat, to this stabilizing energy, to this position that opens up to the hips and allows us to get more grounded. We bring breath to it. And we can remember that that very force that grounds us is intense. That electromagnetic field, that intense core of the earth heat that is also the heat of the sun and the power of gravity with the soul in the solar system and on the planet. That grounding force is its source is great intensity and ferocity and heat. Inhale, untwist. So nothing is one thing, right? Roll yourself over your knees and bring yourself to all fours and move the hips around a little bit. And then in some ways that is the beauty, is that it's not one thing, it's many. Circle the hips around in one direction. And keep breathing. And then circle in the opposite direction as you breathe. Inhale, reach your right arm to the, left arm to the left. And then exhale, slide your left arm underneath your right. So you're here again. Come behind the fingertips of your right hand and resist the twist with the right ribs and with the right front of the hip bone. Turn the right hip bone and the right ribs towards the floor as you turn your chest up to the sky. And now stretch your right leg back first. And then out to the side, out to the right, flex the foot, and this time root the inner edge of your right foot into the earth. And maybe walk it a little closer toward your left hand and breathe. And maybe if that feels okay for your body, it's challenging, but in a good way, hold the outside of your shin, so below your knee, or maybe the outside of the shin a little lower, maybe the outside of your ankle, and maybe all the way to the outer edge of your foot. And if you're holding on to the outer edge of the foot, use your hand to pull the outer edge of the foot in toward you to stabilize you into the hip. And breathe as you turn your chest up to the sky. And breathe and resist the openness of the twist. Stabilize thing by turning your lower belly and middle belly towards the floor. Untwist slowly with an inhalation, still engaged in the leg so that it doesn't go, right? Just a slow undoing, and move the hips a little side to side. Let the undulation of your spine and of the hips tell you that story of questioning and looking at things through different angles and perspectives. Reach your right arm to the right, deep breath in. And with an exhalation, right arm to the floor. Twist to the left. Come up higher on the fingertips of your left hand. And then reach your left leg back behind you. You also don't have to do it if it's too much, right? Take your left leg out to the left a little bit. Flex the foot and root the inner edge of your left foot into the floor. If that's enough, you stay here. or walk it a little bit more towards your right hand. And then hold on to the outside of your shin, right below your knee. Push the shin toward the earth a little bit more as your left hip actually lifts more up towards the sky. Maybe lower on the shin, maybe the ankle, maybe your right hand goes all the way into the outer edge of your left foot and pull on it and turn yourself. And you know, these forms, I chose these forms for us because they do tell a story that is less linear, that is less of an answer and more of a question. You know, one thing that I really love about Judaism is that in order to relinquish that not in order, but that relinquishing the religion, relinquishing the belief in Judaism doesn't take you away from being Jewish. That when you relinquish your faith, that they call it in Hebrew לחזור בשאלה, which means return in question, untwist with an inhale. And sit on your heels again if you can, so that the balls of your feet are on the floor. To return in question, interlace your fingers behind your back. Opposite index finger on top than the one you're used to, than the one you did before, and reach your arms back, or hold on to a strap or a scarf or a shirt. Stretch your arms back to open up your shoulders and breathe. Slow, deep breaths. To return in question doesn't take you away from being part of the tribe, part of the tradition, part of the heritage. It takes you away from the religion because you returned in question. You're no longer in the answer. You're in the wandering, unsure, uncertainty. Release your arms. Bring your hands down to the floor. Separate your knees wide apart, but bring your big toes to touch. And move the hips and the torso a little side to side to snuggle the torso more on the inside of your knees. And then bring your forehead down to the floor. Forearms are on the floor, and breathe slowly here. In child's pose, in that position named after the part of us that was very open, the part of us that still didn't know everything, the part of us that had things imprinted upon it, that felt like certainties, because when you're a child and things are imprinted in you and on you, they feel like a certainty. And then adolescence come and you get to question it. And you get to question it with an attitude of know-it-all, right? Isn't that interesting? That the teenager knows it all, but they are questioning everything they have known so far. The parent, the authority is questionable. That's a healthy way, right? That's part of what's supposed to happen. I'm telling myself that because I'm on the verge of being a mom of a teenager. Slow breath. That the questioning is necessary, that we get to question ourselves in the process, even if we are the authority. And then bring yourself to lie on your back. Stretch your legs straight, and you can move your hips a little bit side to side. You can allow your hands to rest on your belly or your arms by your sides with your palms facing up. And release the effort from your breathing so that your Ujjayi pranayama is released. And allow there to be that uncertainty of dissolution that comes with Shavasana, the pose of the corpse, where you get to assimilate what came through in the life of the practice, and digest and dissolve and break down the knowledge, the insights, the information. You get to make it yours, not by taking it as it came to you, but by taking it as you receive it, as it arrives in you. And so take what feels like it's yours and let the rest be dissolved into the earth. Thank you so, so much for joining me, and I can't wait to explore more with you. So come back, and if you'd like more, subscribe to this channel, and if you'd like even more, subscribe to our mailing list over on mamamandala.com. I will leave a link for you in the description of the video, and I will see you soon. Okay, thank you. Namaste.